out from Oahu. Booyah, the General Greene, islandproject.com. So, hey, hyperinflation is running rampant across the United States. Today I did a big report, GME, GameStop stock, which is this like crazy event. Basically, this guy, Roaring Kitty, is gamifying stock options right now using E-Trade. His net worth is now like $300 million in the GameStop. Price is up 50%, 10% after-market hours. NVIDIA stock is the #1 most valuable company in the world, or at least one of them, trading at $3 trillion. A big part of my thesis in recent years has not only been Bitcoin, buy it under 1,000, get rich. It's now fractional real estate, tokenized real estate, which we run along with all of our beautiful members. We're going to talk about that today as well. But also that there would be massive inflation. It wouldn't stop as a result of the lockdowns, the bailouts, the debt printing, everything we've seen, even in recent decades, going all the way back to 2001, interest rate policy, central bank policy, that essentially this would be the biggest wealth transfer in world history. But the point of all that is I think we understand that. I think Americans can go look at their checkbook, go to a grocery store, see that everything is more expensive. They're checking housing prices up only 3x in a lot of markets. Prices are very extreme. Commodities, gold, silver, gold at a new all-time high. Silver squeeze happening now, probably going to break a new all-time high. Commodities, geopolitical conflict, political conflict, Trump, Biden, etc., all on the D-Day anniversary today. But really what this is, another member probably calling, is D-Day for your finances. So Papa John here just flew in, wanted to get some guidance, just some thoughts, like what do you think is going on? How do average people protect themselves in an inflationary environment? What should they be doing, in your opinion, with their money? And what is your opinion just about what's going on in the stock market, with asset prices, with real estate? Give us an honest take.
Yeah, well, hello, everybody. It's good to see you. I did just roll in from Honolulu this morning. Good to be in Maui. As you can see, we've got a beautiful backdrop here. I don't know, Chris, I would say about the markets and events and everything that's going on. We've talked about it for a long time, but with all the money printing, it really is a big distortion. And kind of where does it go from here, right? It almost seems like everything is up. Everything, in a lot of respects, are overpriced. I would say, my own personal opinion, and God bless anybody that's had a big run in the stock market. But personally, I would be a little cautious. I'd be pulling back from that. If it's not an outright short, in some cases, I'd be selling that beast. We know what we're doing. Okay, we're buying marquee Hawaii real estate in other parts of the country as well, and possibly the world. So I think that's a great protector against inflation, especially in the money printing environment that we have right now. And I know Chris has talked about hard assets, gold, silver, and I think all of those, real estate, the hard metals, I'd be looking at those before I'd be looking at anything to do with the stock market right now. And of course, I can be proven wrong, but everything just seems to be so distorted. There's been so much money printing around the world, and I know there's got to be huge cracks out there. A lot of fissures are developing, but we really haven't seen the big break yet. But I think we're going to see it. Exactly what that's going to look like, I really don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because today the European Union, Christine Lagarde, across the pond just cut interest rates. So they've only held interest rates for 8 months, and they're already starting to cut, which I actually thought would happen because they have to. I mean, anybody with a thinking cap on knows that I think we're taking on $1 trillion in new debt or something every month or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It's purely unsustainable. Can't even meet interest payments on the debt. So there's really no move for them to make but to lower interest rates and cut, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard of because you're cutting into hyperinflation. And to your point, in my view, the fact that GameStop is up, I mean, look at this, guys, 50% today. It's trading up like near 10% aftermarket just today, is only a sign. NVIDIA stock, new 52-week high today. I mean, look at this. This is
Yeah, well,
this is the
and
chart
but you know, and
for NVIDIA stock. It's a tulip mania Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, and with a great business behind it. But I mean, those aren't the only ones. If you and I were going to just take a look at a lot of stocks on the exchanges, you're going to see a lot of that across the board. Not like NVIDIA, not like a GameStop where they're just really trying. It's like a perennial short squeeze with GameStop. There's nothing really that great about that business at all, right? But those aren't the only two charts. If we start picking out a few other ones, you're gonna see that as well. So none of this to me looks very real, but what causes things to break? When is it gonna happen? What's the timing? I really don't know. Maybe some of you guys know.
Yeah, well, it's all fueled by debt too. So if we look at the stock market, it's fueled by cheap money and debt, right? So I think that's a big factor, is that the whole system, although it appears as it's holding together, is really just a function of debt and bailouts at this point, and the policies that the central bank had set, which again runs into our philosophy. I look at history, 1929, stock market crash, 1987. I look at other countries. Where is the problem? It's usually in debt. Rome clipped all of its coinage once they started getting rid of actual, like, legitimate silver and gold in its currency. That was basically the sign of the empire losing influence, power.
Sure.
Also wars. I mean, we have very much the similar themes now, as we're spending so much currency and money and new debt, always as a result of a crisis. You know, there's always a crisis. It's 08 and 09, more debt. September 11th, more debt. It's Ukraine, got to get involved there, more debt.
No.
So just constant lockdowns, more debt. So it's constantly more debt. And the thesis, which people know, and I think people understand this, is we always thought, okay, they'll reset the system, they'll transfer the whole model to something new. And that's why I always looked at these emerging currencies and technologies really as kind of the game plan, is because I knew that they were going to have to break old models, old systems, and the rules. Since they invent and create them, there are really no rules in society, just what they say or change at any given moment in time. I mean, we'll get some commentary, but it's like Zelensky. He's an unelected leader at this point, which is essentially a dictator. There's been no election, no democratic vote, but it's wartime, so he's just in power because he's propped up as a puppet by the U.S. government. I thought the U.S. was all, supportive of votes in a supposed democracy. Again, proving the point that there are no rules, there are no democracy, there is no system. There really is no stock market. So to me, it's a canary in the coal mine. Like I've said with NVIDIA stock, that to me looks like a giant warning sign for geopolitical events, since our entire economic, technological system is focused on semiconductors across everything. I mean, that's what operates the drones bombing in Gaza right now, and Ukraine. That is the system. That's blockchain. So I've always thought that it's a removal of the petrodollar into technology, and essentially microchips and NVIDIA chips and any other competitor are essentially what's really backing compute, as we see with AI, which is the new currency essentially of the world. And whoever controls that will have supremacy and ultimate power, I think, over world events. How inflation, thinking of that just in the past, typically the areas that will keep up with inflation are stocks. But you look at stocks now, they're so elevated and so fueled by debt, you have to question how much risk is there in that market.
Well, look, right? Stocks over time, they are an inflation hedge. But what we've seen before is you don't want to be around when the market takes a 20 to 30% one-day drop. And I don't think that's off the table, or even something more serious, more long-lasting than that. So you don't want to be around unless you're protected. Nobody wants to go through a 30%, 40% period of collapse. We've seen it before. I've seen it in my lifetime. I've had to live through a couple of these things. So you don't want to be one of these guys where you're in the stock market, it's taking a 50% collapse. You might be margin called if you're using some margin. You want to be able to ride out the storm. So my advice to anybody would be if it's stocks right now, trim it up. I mean, I know people that are just outright shorting the market, but at the very least, trim it up. If you don't get out of a good portion of your positions, you definitely should be. You don't want to live through something where you get taken out, you're down 40 to 50%, and it takes you another 20 years to come back from it.
Yeah, usually by the time you're reading about this stuff in the news too, like if GameStop's an actual story, it's usually the time to be getting out.
Yeah.
You know, by the time CNBC's pumping it and we see Roaring Kitty, his name, on Capitol Hill testifying because he's made $300 million, typically that's the end of the road. It's a very tricky environment though too, because of all the manipulation, because of the debt, because of central banks have basically rigged the system against the American people. Obviously, we're all very bullish crypto, Bitcoin. I mean, that's been my number one win and financial investment win over the last decade.
Yeah.
And still extremely bullish. There's a lot of huge news and advancements happening. The Trump family is actually really big getting into crypto. I don't know if you've caught this, but like Trump's changed his mind on it. He's now accepting political donations. He's actually made tens of millions of dollars selling NFTs and other items that have helped campaign fundraising. His children, Don Jr. was just in El Salvador, which by the way, we're gonna have to pay a visit over there. I really think El Salvador could be kind of a new technological Singapore. You know, I'm blown away by Singapore when I visited a few years ago, a blockchain conference, and it was amazing to see how that entire state was built in less than 50 years. And so people are also looking for what's the next big thing, where's the opportunity, what's undiscovered. Well, a couple of areas. One, through technology, which is what we're doing in real estate with fractional ownership. And that's changed the ball game completely on people's accessibility to the best assets in the world. It's created more liquidity too, because there's all this new capital formation coming in, but also where's the development going to be? Really raise an eyebrow because President Bukele, who's looks like he's done a really good job. He's cleared up a lot of the gang trafficking there. Violence is down considerably to where it was. And it looks like they're cleaning house, and there must be deals being struck right now in terms of probably building new residential, commercial. They've also, Bitcoin standard, that is a currency, is a legal currency. And we're seeing a lot of nations compete now, saying, look, if we can't get it done in America, if there are no free markets, then free capital is going to flow to the areas where there's capitalism and where there's opportunity to make money, to be free.
Absolutely.
Which is really, really cool. And so that's, you know, on our radar. Obviously, I'm seeing people comment. We're making a trip out to Thailand this year, this summer. Very exciting, looking at property, real estate, other locations on that trek, which I'm excited about just to visit again in general, but also just, you know, all the advancements and opportunities that are happening worldwide as a result of the destabilization of the westernized world, which I think we can kind of all agree. You know, I do media professionally all the time, but I think people understand now, especially our audience, which is highly intelligent, has been along this journey with us, all of our amazing supporters, like, you guys get it. So the question is, where's the new Wild West? Where are you going to make money? Where's capitalism? Where's freedom? And these are things I think we've all thought long, hard, critically about. And it's in these new systems. It's in these new digital economies. Even with what Roaring Kitty's doing, he's proving that he can decentralize people power and essentially rig the rig against the guys rigging it, which is pretty awesome. I mean, we have to commend the guy, very smart, but the fact that he's actually using the system to beat the system for the people. Now Nancy Pelosi, her shirt's on fire. You know, she's not the only one with call options on these stocks. It's actually Roaring Kitty and these kids, essentially. Which is super cool. Let's talk about, so with real estate, everything we're doing and our future tokenization. Of course, we've been on our roadmap, 70, 80% acquisition by the end of this year. We've just, congratulations, successfully. We're about to close on the 14th, which is really another Independence Day, Flag Day, Army's Day, kind of like the 13 colonies, almost in digital format. Property 4 in Park City. We just got back, finished all of our due diligence, made a second wire. We've got a big wire coming in. We have no debt. We have no bank debt at all. This whole asset base that we've
Yeah.
built, $33.5 million, is a really big deal because essentially it's our IPO. Once we light this up, this is a multi-billion-dollar project. It's going to fund other
Absolutely.
flagships worldwide. It's created community, democratized, decentralized, Robin Hood fashion, very limited downside. There is no debt, produces cash flows, and is also participating in real-world asset tokenization before BlackRock and these guys start moving in. So, quick takeaway, your thoughts on Deer Valley and what we're buying and how amazing that is, and just the excitement with members, use cases.
Yeah.
Give us your
Well,
thoughts.
and I don't want to even say, first off, I love Deer Valley, right? It's one of the most epic, beautiful spots in the world, and we've got one of the most epic, beautiful properties in the world that's going to be part of the Island Project. I don't want to say that Deer Valley is a good pivot, because it's really not a pivot, but it kind of shows you the roadmap that we have with the Island Project. And I always kind of like to mention to people that even though we talk about marquee Hawaii real estate, and we're going to have a couple of properties outside that Hawaii real estate, the first one is with Park City, but it kind of gives you an idea with the brand. Everybody that's invested, you're in the founders round. This is our proof of concept. This really is flowering, and we're able to point to this and show others in the world what we're doing. It's going to be a really big thing, guys. Now that we're working the business plan, we're going to have 4 beautiful properties. We're going to surprise you with a couple, 2 or 3 more before the end of the year. So we're kind of firing on all cylinders. I will say we're working extremely hard on your behalf. We kind of had a 3-year roadmap to put this together. You never know exactly what you've got until you really start business planning this and working it together. But it's a powerful thing. We're building this great investor community. But I want you to think too that you're part of the founders around. We can do this everywhere. We're building the Island Project brand. We can build an Island Project anywhere. Doesn't have to be an island.
Yeah, it's replicatable.
Doesn't have to be in Hawaii. It can be 10, 12, 15 properties elsewhere in the world under our Island Project brand, the business plan, and the method we have for creating value for our investors. So we can build an Island Project anywhere. That's why somebody's going to want to pay up for the tokenization. And I want you guys to know, after we tokenize, that's going to be a big liquidity event. We're pretty certain about that. That's your opportunity to sell out your position completely, sell out part of your position, but definitely take some profits. You could roll that into Island Project number 2. But it's really a great thing because you are the founders around. This is our proof of concept. It proves that Christopher and I and our investor community did what we said we were going to do. And also, when you sell out your position in the Island Project, Founders Round, if all of our investors sold out, it doesn't mean the Island Project Founders Round isn't still there. The business is still operating. It's still creating value for whoever owns it. Okay, but we definitely are going to have other island projects that will follow. But it's super important you get into this one now and take advantage of that big tokenization event, and then you'll have an opportunity to roll some of that into one of the other island projects.
Yeah, well, the best businesses and investments in the world solve people's problems. And we all have the same problem. The problem is the system's rigged against the American people, like blatantly. There's hyperinflation everywhere, bailouts to infinity, manipulation at the central banks. Cash doesn't earn anything. Cash is trash. What do? Real asset prices keep inflating, especially the best assets. And so again, what are the best investment opportunities? What are the best businesses to look for? Ones that actually solve real world problems. And so, we've had, I think our number one theme has been get your money out of the banks. I don't know if you caught this, but there's 63 financial institutions in the United States with over like 500 billion in unrealized losses now as a result of 7% rough interest rates.
I bet there's 1,000 banks that are broke.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah, so this is a major problem. At the very least, they're going to go down and consolidate into the evil empire of more too big to fails. And our primary mission statement has been, number one, take control of your money, do better than inflation, with no bank debt because they're resetting the system. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know what kind of capital controls could be enforced. We don't know necessarily what's going to happen geopolitically. Those are very unknown, scary things. So you eliminate that risk with no debt. In addition to that, we've solved a real world problem of accessibility and affordability to the best asset. Again, when was there ever a time in history that the average person could simply, with a $30,000 minimum investment, buy a $30 million home on the beach next to the billionaire class, of which they don't want you to own? That's never happened before
Exactly.
in the history of the world.
Yeah, exactly. You're owning a piece of the rock, and you can kind of choose how big a piece you want to own. But we mentioned this before, but the Island Project really it's more of a by the people, for the people investment. It's Christopher and I, all this community we have behind us, and it's really a way we can kind of stick our finger in the eye of the giant, the Black Rocks, all the investment companies that want to shut everybody else out. So that's a big part of what we're doing, and especially with the founders around, right? So, the fact that, we didn't know what the number should be. Should it be 30,000 minimum? Should it be 50? What should it be? But we made it affordable for anybody to buy that little piece of the rock. And a lot of the people that bought that $30,000 piece of the rock, they're heavily following Christopher's advice on Bitcoin and the crypto. And just a little FYI, a lot of the gains that the investors have had listening to him and his advice with crypto has rolled back into the Island Project. So when you've heard Christopher talk about all the great things about crypto, but that when you have these big gains, you take a little bit off the table, you pare some of your profits. And a lot of his investors have done that, and they're dropping that right back into the Island Project.
Yeah, absolutely. All glory to God. I mean, so thankful, and we're blessed to be in the position that we are, to build such a great project along with our members. Also, too, just taking note of the fact, too, that markets are forward-looking, like your comments regarding the stock market. If you've been lucky enough and you're participating, you've had all these outsized gains, take profits. That is the absolute prudent thing to do. We are in a very chaotic, politically disruptive election cycle, which we've already known. But again, the markets are very forward-looking. So the time to get out or start pairing off of some of your gains, taking profits, I recommended months ago, even in crypto. That was when Bitcoin was reaching its new all-time highs. I said, look, things are getting a little frothy. Take 25% off the top, deploy it, realize it, and then roll it over, which we'll talk about in a minute, with your retirement accounts, 401ks. There can be tax advantages. We're not tax advisors, but we can help you with our third parties roll over in a self-directed IRA where you actually own the best real estate and participate in those gains. The other beauty of what we're doing too, it allows the average person to participate in the blockchain revolution in something that they understand. Look, if you're buying like a random meme coin, I love meme coins. I mean, we got Pepe the Frog trading at like $8 billion. We've got Dogecoin at like 10. I'll have to check its recent market cap. Jesus Coin, huge outperformer, 100x'd since my recommendation at Skull. Still think it's going to go to $1 billion. Those things are all great, and I expect them to do well, but they're also not backed by a real asset. And so the way I look at things is what's foolproof and what are the trends. I think a lot of things people don't understand too about all this technological innovation is how our financial system is inherently changing, like, for good. Like, this is a new system, kind of like the internet was with all these advancements. So, for example, you're going to start hearing a lot more about fractional real estate ownership. We are doing something completely different in that we fractionalized a fund. It's a fund of the people. Yeah, we're essentially this private fund that is operating as like its IPO.
And we build unique portfolios.
Very unique. And it's different, but what you need to understand is it's all going mainstream. And it's another reason why so much liquidity, new liquidity is coming into the market that was never there before. So for example, you're now probably seeing in your neck of the woods, those of you tuning in, you can buy residential real estate fractional. So for example, let's say you're out in the Bahamas, you wanted to buy a condo, let's say it was $5 million. 5 people each pay $1 million, and they own fractional ownership of that particular place, and then time based on whatever schedule that is.
Whatever the operating agreement says.
But what that tells you though too, just bottom lining it for everybody, because that's happening, because that never existed before. A fractionalized property is actually worth more than a non-fractionalized property because there's more liquidity and more demand and more accessibility. It's just like when homes, for example, in like the median category of like $300,000 to $500,000 in America are sticky because that's where the average incomes are and where people can afford them. Now that the best assets in the world are now being fractionalized, like beach, ocean front, vacation zones, all this kind of stuff, that's going to make these properties completely inaccessible to the average person forever. I mean, this is why they tell us you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
The beauty of what we've done is that what we have and provide is whole ownership. Our properties are fully outright owned, no bank debt.
Well, there's no.
Yes, it's democratized with the units that we funded all that, but it's different and unique, but it's also playing upon the inevitable trend of what we know is coming.
You bring up a great point, and of course we're democratizing it, guys, and you're going to see. And Christopher, back up a little bit about the markets that are forward looking. I think we're not going to see it this time. Okay.
Interesting take, yeah.
I don't think we're going to see it. They're not as forward looking as they used to be. There's the buy the rumor, sell the fact. I just don't see it anymore. It's pretty much buy everything. Everything is a bid, right? So we're kind of in unique times. That's why I encourage people don't get caught with your proverbial pants down. I don't think we're going to have a lot of warning this time around. I don't think we're going to have 5 or 6 days where you can get your act together. So I'd really be careful in that regards. But look, we're democratizing real estate. You're gonna see, and we don't use any bank debt. I can't tell you how, for our initial portfolio, I can't tell you how big of a thing that is. It gives us a lot of flexibility, especially in this kind of environment. And you're gonna see some situations now with the REITs, okay, and we're not a REIT, we're a private offering, everybody's a fractional owner, according to our business plan and our operating agreement. You're gonna see some of these REITs get in trouble. And they're gonna get in big trouble, and they're gonna get in big trouble because they're highly indebted.
Yeah.
And especially the commercial guys. So it's not all rosy out there. I would expect some big things to happen, and we're just not gonna have a lot of warning. When it cracks, it's gonna crack in a big way, so.
Yeah, that's very sobering take and sobering advice, I think, to the audience too,
and
to
I'm
think
not trying,
about.
and I'm
No,
not
I
trying to be
understand.
the sober guy.
No, I know, but that's really good advice. And to your point too, I'm sure you caught this earlier this week, but one of the largest REITs out there, I believe it was the Starwood product, has limited redemptions. So you actually can't sell now. How about them apples? So you've invested, let's say, your family's future. You're not allowed to sell. You can redeem. They put a schedule out. It's like 0.5% per month.
Yeah.
And he says, and the guy who's in charge says he hopes it's temporary.
Yeah.
Like, again, proving you don't have any control of your money. The banks can close your financial accounts, which they're doing in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, not allowing you to move your money, invest in the investments that you want to make for yourself. Proving that what's coming, like you said, it's sobering, but I think good advice. And the truth, you're not going to get like a huge warning. It's not going to be like, hey guys, we're CNN and we're just letting you know that the stock market's going to drop 30% tomorrow. And Joe Biden, because Taiwan was just attacked, is going to declare capital controls. So there's going to be a temporary period, like they're doing with these REITs now, of non-withdrawals. Like, again, there's not going to be any kind of heads up. You've got to be actively engaged ahead of it and making those important financial decisions now. With that action, explain to the audience. So when you buy on a project, there's a 30-unit minimum, and we have members all the way to 1,000, which various tiers also include time, which is incredible. We didn't have to do that, but it's a really like an intangible dividend that you can actually use that, explore the portfolio.
Well, I think we need
touch your investment.
I think we need to hit home on that, right? Because we get a lot of this too, though, guys. Is what kind of returns can we expect? Give me a timeline for the returns, right? I know you get this a lot. I do too. Number one, we're not going for CD-like returns with the Island Project, okay? We're going for exceptional returns. But again, this is not a short-term investment. You know our lockup period is 3 years. Why do we do that? Because we have to take the capital in, we have to buy the right properties, build the portfolio, right? So, but the reality is, everybody that buys the Island project, you're buying a piece of the rock. If you make the minimum investment, you have a little smaller piece of the rock, but you can add to that. And, you can invest up to $1 million with us. We've had several people that have done that. And they've all been DCA people that have started out with a low number, and they keep on keeping on. But,
Yeah, every investor that's visited our project and shaken our hand has invested more.
Yeah.
Every
Yep.
single one.
Yep.
Every single member.
Absolutely. And I think for some of them, they had a lot of money to invest. We didn't know that. And there's others that, honestly, they've been chipping away. We've got some, they just chip away every month. And it's a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, it's awesome.
To-
Well, that's our,
to see that happen.
we take our own advice too. I mean, the audience knows, look at how we've acquired property.
Yeah.
We've dollar cost averaged, picked our spots. Obviously, it's very competitive too. People need to realize this. We're fighting for the best properties in the world. What we just bought in Park City is the only listing that has come on the market in 2 years. The only one.
Yeah,
There's nothing else to buy.
Yeah, we
went through multiple units. We're like, oh, this is great. How much is it? They're like, probably like $9 or $10 million. We're like, awesome. Where could we make? Is it available? No. Nothing. These assets are being fought over by private equity,
Yeah.
BlackRock, and the world's wealthiest. Which again, I've been telling people and stressing for years now. We see it in Maui all the time. We see it in Oahu. We see it in these locations. But like, the very rich already know that they've got to get their money out of the bank. And that's where the wealthy puts their money. It's essentially, you get some use. If you've got $100 million, buy some property and with no debt, use it, store it, let it appreciate, later sell it, roll it into something else, 1031 exchange it into another property. Like, this is just common sense, like wealth creation, whether or not it's a family with a lot of money or it's BlackRock with a lot of money. This is just what people do. It's passive-oriented investing, legacy investing, long-term. But the difference is BlackRock has debt. Starwood has debt. That's why they've limited redemptions. And this is it's the prudent decision, the best decision to make, but like, not having debt, like we could easily scale our property 30x right now if we wanted to, based on our asset base with no debt. But that's not the priority in an environment where we know what's coming, we know the risks, and we understand also, as a part of our investment philosophy, number one, protect, but also we're seeking high returns. We also have huge liquidity with our tokenization no one else in the world has. And strengthened numbers, of course, of our community. We see the same thing in GameStop. That's a community-driven short squeeze, essentially on the public markets, which is really incredible. So when someone buys today, they click the link below, they fill out an app, they buy and they fund immediately. We sign, we have to approve it. We have to say not available to the public, not financial advisors, as you guys know, read the terms. But when you buy, you become an immediate owner of now 4 properties. Our property in Maui, 2 of them. One in beautiful West Side Kaanapali, other in Kapalua beachfront. You own Waikiki, beautiful, right in front of the Duke statue. You can surf all day. Also now Park City. Also really another property is our spec, which we now have in active architectural design stage and will be developing in 2025. As we build out 10 to 13, 10 to 12, 10 to 13. I like 13 though because of what happens serendipitously with the 13 colonies. So I kind of think we might just have to do 13
there we go.
because I really like that. But you own that portfolio. So you have to look at this from a risk perspective too. If you just bought one condo or something, you're very much at risk of that one concentrated position. What if something changes with that condo? What if the HOA changes something? What if it moves from a daily rental to a monthly rental? What if it blows your cash flow strategy out of the water? And we're seeing that because there's a lot of uncertainty in America right now. So one of our principal strategies has been diversification, not just in different locations, but different property types and also different states, and also some surprises along the way that would add international exposure.
absolutely.
As you've suggested, our whole goal, this is a replicatable project. So we've got our founders round, creates the liquidity, then we replicate the same project in any location that our members desire. We create a network effect that's outside of the system, and we do it long before a lot of these other players can get in, which it's tough for them to compete with us because, as you've heard my father said, they wouldn't want to do what we're doing.
It would.
And they really kind of can't because they're structured differently on Wall Street than how we've structured this in a really creative format that is unique.
Is Wall Street for the people?
No.
Wall Street is for Wall Street. It's how many fees you can collect. Forget about them being for the people. So Island Project truly is a by the people, for the people kind of investment, guys. And I'll go back to, we're not looking, I get a lot of questions, but about what kind of returns. We're not looking for CD type returns. This is what you're gonna get. You get a piece of the rock, you kind of choose your number, up to $1 million, by a piece of this great property portfolio that we're putting together that's gonna appreciate in value. That's kind of way up there. We're gonna create operating income, for sure. 80% of the time, properties are out to third parties creating operating income that we're gonna distribute to the investors, okay? So that we're gonna do that. We have an interactive piece where you can use the investment. If you're a tier investor, you're gonna get some special opportunities that aren't available if you're not a tier investor. But everybody can use the properties if they're available, and they should be, as we build a portfolio out. And you'll pay about 40% of whatever the rack rate is for that particular property. So it's it's really a participatory type investment with potential great returns, and I haven't even talked about the tokenization. But if we can do what we think we can do with the tokenization, then it's gonna be a huge liquidity event. But I want you all to know, we'll have the ability to duplicate this again and again. So it's a very powerful thing that you're part of the founders around. And we're right on track. I think, Chris and I talk about this. We have 4 properties. We think we're gonna have 10 to 13. Based on the 4 properties that we have now, and based on our flagship property number 1, that has 2 beautiful structures on 5 acres, we're gonna develop another property on that piece of 5-acre parcel. 4 properties, honestly, I think in a couple, 2 or 3 years, those 4 properties will be worth about the $33.5 million
I agree.
that we have in our offering. So 4 properties, we've got another 9 to go to get to 13.
Yeah, we're looking at $200 million core asset, not even including tokenization, really in a short-term time horizon, with a provable investment class, a model that we've already built and done, up to 4 distinct properties already. My dad always reminds me all the time, the best ideas in the world and that first mover advantage that we always talk about really is huge. Look at Costco. You were bringing that up to me the other day. Costco basically came out, almost took some ideas that were already in the marketplace, put them out there, and we all know Costco, it's a subscription model. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. You can buy a hot dog still for $1.50. Everybody's got a membership. These are simple ideas, but they kind of just twisted them a little bit, and then they redefined themselves, took a ton of market share. And this is what we're seeing in crypto, blockchain, and especially the real estate game, as all of this changes. Explain quickly, as we're gonna close out the video, rollovers. So first, call my dad at 808-442-2934. That's 808-442-2934, link below. Leave a voicemail and or text. He will get back to you. We've got a lot of calls, we have dozens of new onboards just in recent days. Also, to get ahead of the line, go to the members tab at islandproject.com, fill out an app for a minimum of at least 30 units, fill out one for 100, 250, 500, get in. You can fund directly through the app. Takes 2 to 5 minutes. We accept crypto, ACH, wire transfer, debit, and or credit card. If you have any questions along the way, reach out. We're the only people that you can speak with. We're here to help you. Also, my dad's really good about too. He'll tell you simply too. If he doesn't think the investment's right for you, he'll tell you, right? We are looking for and being highly selective at this point. We are more than 90% funded in the fund, all glory to God.
Absolutely.
We don't have to necessarily onboard people or more people. We're just looking for the right investors, the right people that want to build what we're building, do something incredibly special, profit from what we're doing, do something great, be solution oriented, and all the great things that we are telling people on a daily basis here.
Absolutely, guys. And honestly, we have one of the greatest marketers in the world. Okay, he's done a fantastic job, and All the glory to you for doing that.
Well,
the
to
glory,
God.
glory to God, because he makes it happen. Just to go back to the IRAs, just so you know, about 50% of the money that comes into the Island Project is IRA money. So give me a touch on that. If you need to move some of your IRA funds, I'm going to recommend you go with Preferred Trust. No pun intended, but they're kind of our preferred third-party custodian. You don't have to. There's others as well, Equity Trust, and there's Rampant, and NDTCO, and there's others as well. So, but, you know, we take in at least 40 to 50% of the funds that come in are IRA funds. And you give me the call, within about 2 weeks, you'll be on board the Island Project, if not sooner. It just depends on how motivated you are. And Chris brings up a good point as well about vetting. I know everybody that's onboarded with us, you vetted us. We're doing the same thing. I mean, we really are. And we have a great investor community, like-minded investors from all over the world. We want the right people to take the ride with us here. And I guess I can just kind of finish up with, guys, the Island Project is really flowering now. I want you to know we're working around the clock to make good things happen. We're right on schedule, but the beautiful thing is, you see a lot of beautiful foliage behind me, but the Island Project is really going to flower, and by mid 2025, you'll see this beautiful thing that we've created together. And of course, you're going to be visiting all the properties as well. I would say this too: we have a lot of investors now that are coming out and visiting the properties. So, pending availability, I want you to give me a touch. We'll have you come out, get the Island Project experience for yourself, but even more importantly, visit your investment. Okay, so.
Shake our hand.
Yeah, shake
It's the
our
beauty of what we're doing. You invest in a stock, it's not like you're going to meet Tim Cook, right? You invest in an Island Project, you really become a part of our Ohana, which is pretty darn special and cool. We love you guys. We got to run. Links below. Call Papa John, 808-442-2934, islandproject.com, the digital Noah's Ark. Get in today. Find the solution in your own life. Pivot, leverage, profit, 1000x to the moon, Bitcoin rich. Talk to all of you soon. Thank you, Dad.
God bless you.
I love
God
you.
bless you. I love you guys, and love you, Christopher Greene.
Yeah, love
Let's
you
go
too,
get 'em.
Pops. All right.
Bye-bye.